Hello, everybody. A very, very good evening. I am Pranita, and welcome all for the second part of timesheet management webinar. Let's wait for 5 more minutes. We have a few more people joining us. So let's begin the session at 4:05. All right, everybody. Uh, To all who have joined later, this is Pranita. I'm a product specialist with Keka. Today, I would be walking you through the rest of the discussion. So, last week we had the first part of webinar on timesheet management, and we had a few topics left. So, we would be covering that. So, before that, we will also have a quick recap for people who have not joined. Uh, so let's begin. So along with me, we have Sudha on chat. So in case during the session, if you have any questions, just feel free to drop a line. We'll try to answer as many as we can. And yes, so I'll just quickly share my screen. I would need a confirmation if you're able to hear me and also see me. Just give a thumbs up. So I'll just proceed. Perfect. All right. So I'll just share my screen. So I need another confirmation. Yes. Is my screen visible? Awesome. All right, then let's begin today's session. So, a quick recap of what we discussed last week. So, last we have discussed how to create and manage clients and projects and tasks and resource allocation. So, to access timesheet module, so this would be your home screen, and you will have to go to project. So, under project, you have a lot of dashboards here. The last one says settings. So settings will talk about your approval chain, your billing classification, project attributes, and project health. Project health is an add-on feature. So in case you're not finding this on your dashboard, you can drop a line to support, or you can request a call back from KK itself. So after this, we have also discussed about timesheet policy, the different settings we have, the minimum and the maximum number of hours we can define that will allow employees to submit their record accordingly, right? Then just a quick overview again. So the first one says minimum hours required, that is 4, and maximum minimum hours required during the timesheet period. So as we all know, we have currently a weekly timesheet period. That is, employees would be able to submit their timesheet on a weekly basis. Okay. Now, in this period, what is the minimum number of hours that is expected from an employee? That would be minimum hours per timesheet. So maximum is not mandatory. In case you have a maximum limit as well, the upper limit, you can define that as well. Now, submission settings, do you allow attachments while somebody is submitting their timesheet? You can just check that. Attendance integration. So if you want gross hours or effective hours to be shown, then that is also that you can just check this. And what do we do with past timesheets? So as I said, we have weekly duration, right? So the first option says require submitting pending timesheet present to current period. So if you have a policy where employees by mandatorily should submit their previous pending timesheet in order to be able to submit the current week's timesheet, then you will have to go with this option. So if you are okay with employees skipping the old timesheets, if you're okay with them skipping, then you can just check this. Allow current timesheets, skipping pending past timesheets. Now, disable timesheet submissions older than uh, X number of periods. So if I put 3 periods here, which means I can go back to 3 weeks and submit my timesheet, but not beyond that. Okay, I have a maximum of up to 3 weeks I can go back and submit. Same applies to future as well. How much in advance can I submit my timesheet? So if we put 1, then I can only submit 1 week, of the future date. That's all. Then allow attachments. So I hope this was clear. Now, timesheet period would be weekly, and the employees will give us the list of people who are assigned this timesheet policy and activity. Activity will give us just the track of changes, who has done what and at what time. what were the latest modifications that were made. Okay. Now, manage timesheet. Yeah, if there are any timesheet pending approval, we'll get it here by approvals and empty timesheets, without any hours logged. Those are empty timesheet. User assignment. So if you want to assign timesheet policy to somebody, for whoever it is disabled, right? You can just, click here and assign the timesheet policy. That's all. Okay. Now we have bulk imports. So if you have certain new clients or new project information, then you can just import here in bulk. So this is an Excel template. You can just simply download this template, and in the same format, in the same path, you can navigate here, and then you can import the sheet as well. Okay, import project resources. So project is different. Project resources are employees who are assigned that project. So we have to do resource planning as well, right? Who is working? What are the allocation dates? Individually, that they can be done from project tab itself. But if you want to do it in bulk, you can come and do it here. Now, yes, projects. So as discussed last week, we have created a client called Webinar Client and a project called Webinar Project under the Webinar Client. So, and we have certain tasks as well created here. So we have assigned Pranita Suri as the resource, and she's allotted, from 1st August to 30th September. This can be modified, and we have created, certain tasks under this project as well. So in today's session, we will have an understanding of how, as an employee, how will the employee submit the timesheet, and how can, the approver approve the timesheet, and for the approved timesheet, how do we generate invoices? Because the whole point of this is that we should be able to manage, right? Manage all our resources, and also, of course, we have to invoice and bill the clients accordingly. So that also can be possible. Okay. I think we have a couple of questions here. Can you show more details on activity? Sure. So Chandan, activity is nothing but if somebody has made any changes to timesheet policy, right? Like how we just have that activity log. So today is the 3rd of September, right? If somebody has made changes on 3rd of September, who has made that changes, that will be logged there. Okay. Can we adjust the maximum hours of employees belonging to a particular department? So timesheet policy will be universal across, for everybody who's assigned that would have the same thing, Radha. All right. Okay then. So I have, as I said, so a team, Pranita Suri is assigned and a timesheet policy is also assigned. Now let's just quickly check the settings. So approval settings. So there is an approval chain. Reporting manager is the first level and project manager is the second level of approval. Next, we have timesheet, right? So in timesheet settings, employee should add comments while adding, while filling the timesheet, which means, yes, like while I, input my record, then I should actually give a note under that. Next, employee should mention start and end date for a task while filling the timesheet, start and end time, sorry, for a task. Or also, they can also use a timer for tracking time of the task. So let's see how it looks for an employee while doing the same. Okay, so I'll just stop sharing my screen. I'll share the other screen where I logged in as an employee. So as this resource which is allotted here. So let me just share that screen. Can you see the screen? You can see the screen right, where I logged in as Pranita Suri. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So this is how it is for the employee. So as an employee must go to me and timesheet. Okay. So on the 30th and the 31st, the employee is on leave, paid leave. So 8 hours by default is taken. Now, you see webinar client. So we have selected something like, timer can be assigned, right? So this is how it looks. So I can just simply click on start timer. So I did this sometime, in the past, sometime today, and I could only work up to a maximum of 1 minute. So that 1 minute was recorded here. Okay, so I'll just keep this on and I'll keep adding tasks. So if I want to add tasks, so this resource is allotted to webinar project, right? And there are 3 tasks under the webinar project. So if I'm working under, this is second webinar of timesheet, right? So I'll just simply click here. Say if I worked on, I'm working from 3 p.m. to again 4 p.m. Okay, and see, add a comment, and this is required. So I will have to add a comment saying second webinar or any details. Okay, so this is how I can, oh, sorry, this is 4 a.m. Yeah, 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. And a note also has been added. The note says second webinar. Now, say on, I work from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., 8 hours. And here it says note missing. I cannot. So I'll just stop the timer and let's see if I'm able to submit the timesheet. See, please check time and comment for time entries. So hours end. So I'm unable to submit the timesheet. Why is that? Because a note is missing and we have made note mandatory, right? So I will have to add a note while submitting the timesheet. Same with here as well. I have to add a note. Okay, now let me see if I can submit. See, I still cannot submit the timesheet. Why is that? Hours required per day should be more than or equal to 4 hours. So as we have seen the timesheet policy settings, we put a minimum of 4 hours per day. But I did not log 4 hours a day. On the 1st of September, I only did 1 hour, right? So that's why I have to come back here. I have to say 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. So that is 4 hours. Now should I try to submit? No. I still cannot do it because on the third I have not met my requirement yet. So again, I'll try to add 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Fine. Okay, now I have successfully submitted the timesheet because 2 days I was on leave, so I need not work. And Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I submitted my timesheet. Now I'll just quickly go back to the admin screen and see how it looks like. How the admin can approve or reject this. Okay, now as the admin, I'll just go to my team and timesheet. See, Pranita Suri has submitted the timesheet. Okay, you can just click on the arrow here and you can actually see. And there are 3 items. So there are 2 tasks I have used, that is third webinar and second webinar. And there are comments or details, there are 3 items. So these are the notes I have added and this is the time I have logged in. Okay, same with this as well. So these were done earlier. Okay, so I can just click here. I can just select and approve the timesheet from here. Okay, so nothing is pending approval now. So was this clear on how to approve, how to how to check the notes and how to approve the timesheet? Okay, I'm assuming there are no questions on this, so I'll just quickly move ahead. Now, so this is done. So there are nothing pending from my end. Now, let's just see how do I invoice. Now, everything is done. How do I invoice, this timesheet? Just come here. I'll just go to invoicing. Okay, so are there any invoices due? there is webinar client, and there is 20 billable hours, which we have just logged, and it was never invoiced. So I'll just click on invoice now. So the client would be webinar client. This would be the time period. I'll just select this. This is the legal entity of your organization. And I can just select the price. So these are all hours to be invoiced as the approved hours. We have approved the timesheet, right? These would be the approved hours. I'll just click on next now. So here the first, so there are some line items that are to be given before we raise the invoice. The first one says add client address. So this has to be given. So I'm just giving some dummy details right now. And client contact. So client contact is nothing but while creating the client, we have an option called client details, right? We have a section where we can actually add POCs and their details. So I just added Pranita while creating the client in the last webinar. So if you want to add somebody else's details, you can just simply add here, or you can select whatever is already available. Okay. So invoice issue date is today's date, and the due date, when is the invoice due, that can be given here. And payment term would be test. Let's see what payment terms are now. Invoice subject title would be okay. Now group line items by. So line items are these values that appear on the invoice. So you can just click here. If you want to group by task, we'll just get those tasks and the time, the hours logged under each task. And otherwise, if you want to invoice by resource, so only one resource has worked, right? So you're getting only my name, and then the number of hours logged by this, and what is the rate. So this rate is nothing but while we created the client, right, we have selected certain billing roles and the rate per hour, right? This is that. If you want to go by billing role, these are the roles we have created. So we have a developer and UX designer under this client. So the developer has worked. You can keep adding. So if you also want to add UX designer and keep in the invoice, you can do that as well. So these details are already pre-filled because we have actually used the timesheet and submitted and approved it as well. Okay. Now I'm trying to line these as per task. Now, if you fall under a GST tax group, you can just, if there is no task for this, you can just select accordingly, and this would be the amount. Make sense? Let me quickly check if there are any questions. Okay, yeah, let's get to that. Let's get to the notifications and everything. Okay, I'll just preview. Okay, the PO number is required. So I'll just give XYZ 1, 2, 3. So this is how the invoice is going to look like. So these would be your legal entity details. These are the client's contact details we picked and we added. This is how. These would be your bank account number. So you can just download this as a PDF and you can share it. Okay, I'll just close this for now. I'll just save it. Okay, now these are, so I have generated invoice. So let us check certain settings related to invoicing and everything. So I just navigate, I'll just go back again. So we have added while certain line items in the invoice, right? So let's check certain timesheet settings we have. For that, just navigate to settings next to the global settings next to your company's name. Go to timesheet. So these are the invoice settings. So whatever legal entities are there, these are the details, and these are like the bank account details or payment instruction that can be given here. So we have seen this in the display, right, in the preview of the invoice. This is how it will look like. And taxes. See, GST was added. That's why system has automatically picked 18%. So in case you want to add new taxes, you can just give the code, description, the component and rate, and then keep adding. Okay, so if you have, say, consultant 10%, so I'll just give CON, consultants I'll just give 10%. Okay, I just added 10% for consultant, some consultant tax. So instead of choosing GST, if you want to go with 10%, you can just select that and while generating the invoice. Okay, and payment terms. So we have something called test that was by default selected. So let's try to add another payment term. So is the payment due in fixed number of days? So which means if the invoice is generated, if it is due within 10 days, then you can just give due in 10 days. Or if the payment is due by certain day of the month. Okay, so if it is due on 5 of the month, means they have to pay by the 5th day of the month, 5th of the month. Due to next month, if the invoice is, issued within dash days of the due date. Say if you are raising, and if I put 7 days here, so if you are raising an invoice at the end of the month, and so that would be, less of a time, less of a buffer for the client to clear it, right? So you can just have that invoice due the next month if you are issuing within, say, 2 days or 3 days before the due date. Okay, so that would be payment terms. You can create a number of payment terms, and while generating the invoice, you can select it accordingly. Okay, yeah, so while we are there, so these are the triggers associated with the timesheet. So currently we have timesheet, employee timesheet approved trigger. So whenever a timesheet is approved, right, a trigger, an email can be configured, and respective people can be notified. So let's just go back to timesheet. So we have covered invoicing part as well. Now let's see certain reports that are available in the system. Yeah, the first one, the first card talks about clients, projects, and reports. So here we have, like, client details, project details. So the contacts. So these contacts are people we add while creating the, client. So you can just download them and have it handy for, in case you want to contact. And billing and invoice. So client resource billing, and if I go to, last 30 days and webinar client. So yeah, so it is giving me the details of the resource, number of billable hours within this time frame, number of hours that are invoiced, and what is the cost, all of that. And on the right side, we have project hours. So if you want to understand how your resources are performing, then you can just choose, employee task summary or daily time entries. Daily time entries will give you by the day. So you can actually select the date, and then under a certain project, what are the time entries they have recorded in the system. And timesheet status. So if you want to know how many people have submitted, and are the submitted timesheets, are they approved or are they not approved? See, all of these, only one is submitted and approved, but the rest are all pending submission, right? So in that case, you can just uh, understand how, who are these employees who are not submitting the timesheets and all. Okay, and all of these are downloadable reports. And projects expired or overdue. So overdue is something that is, that has exceeded the, deadline. So if you have certain deadlines for projects and the project is not closed yet. So if I go to project, so currently I have webinar project, and the due date is 30th September. So it's not closed yet, but by this due date, if it is not completed, if it is completed within the due date, very well and good. I can just come here and I can just mark the project as completed. So once the project is marked completed, right, all the tasks and everything associated with it also will be considered completed. I can't go back and work on this on a project that is already completed, right? So if a project status is not completed even after this end date, then it is considered overdue. Okay, and yeah, project health. So project health is something where I'll just first let's see the settings. So if you want to, gauge or measure the project, how well you're performing, or how are the resources, where do you stand in terms of budget, there are certain parameters that can be used, and we can assign, you know, project managers would be the responsible people to come and keep updating the project health at timely intervals. So we have certain parameters already selected. So if you can configure, reminders here, if you want project health to be updated on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, employee, like, the project managers would be notified accordingly. So if I want to, I am a project manager here, right? So if I want to update some, any project's health, I'll go to that project, I'll click on update project health, and I'll check. So if the budget is good, good. If it's not, then I'll just put at risk, Um, if the developer is taking a lot of time, developer consumed more hours than expected, then of course it'll increase my cost, right? Because I'm putting in 3,000 rupees per hour for that developer, and if that developer is taking a lot of time, then it'll increase my project budget. And how is the employee experience? If it is good, then all good. Then how is the performance? Are they performing well, or not? All of that can be updated. So these are not fixed attributes. So if you want to have any other attribute, then you can just simply create those attributes and then select it. Will be done. Okay, then I'll just save this. So project health is already updated. See overall project status. So this is at risk because budget is at risk, right? Yeah. So if you want to go to project health, this is how it is. Okay, I'll just check if. So that would be about major. So we have covered all the topics associated with timesheets and projects and everything. So yeah, summary would it's more like a dashboard, an overview of how you're performing. Not submitted. 30 people have not submitted. Two people are not allotted timesheets. Number of employees. Unsubmitted timesheets. Yes, unsubmitted timesheets. Say, let's consider this scenario where an employee has submitted a timesheet accidentally, or you have approved accidentally. What should happen in that case? So, Pranita Suri has submitted a timesheet and it was approved. It was duly approved on time. Okay, now I'll just go to check anybody's timesheet. We'll have to navigate to that employee's profile, time, and then timesheet. Okay, all of this is done. Some mistake has happened here, and and you want the employee to resubmit the timesheet, or you want to reject the timesheet for any reason. Then you have two options. One says unsubmit, where employee can go back and resubmit, or reject the timesheet. Okay, you have to add a reason and then reject the timesheet. Okay, this employee cannot do with themselves, but you as the admin can do it from the employee's profile. All right, I guess I think we have covered almost all topics here. So if there are any rejected timesheets, so yeah, so if you want to understand like a summary of for any particular employee, like how you monitor leave and attendance, you can just come to time and you'll have an additional dashboard called timesheet here. So from here you can monitor. You can also monitor the progress of the timesheet activity, submitted today, approved today. So I think we have a question on invoicing. Okay. So if you want to do that, right, you'll have to do a manual entry, Shruti. So basically, so I have, let me just go here. I have come here, right, to invoice. So under the same invoice now, I'll just have to select this. So basically there are no hours logged. So I can just group by resource and I can add, if I have the other resource, right, I can add the resource. I can enter the hours and then, group it accordingly and raise an invoice. That is possible. So I think that should work, right? Yeah, perfect. Yes, Mahesh, like, so in the timesheet, so the whole reason is that, yeah, for us to ensure that employees are wisely, utilizing the time, and also for us to have a record of, who's working how much. So there could be a case where you maybe need not use invoicing at all. You just want to monitor. So if you want to understand, employee work hours or under a particular task, how many hours are being logged, all of that can be tracked from here. No, Jyoti. I mean, there's no compulsion as such. So there's an additional add-on available in case you want to have everything under one platform. You can very well do that. Integration with Jira. Yeah, so we are actually looking at certain integrations. For more details, like if you have any such specific requirements, right, we request you to drop a line at support@kk.com. So so Diksha, no, not right now, not at the moment. But however, if you want to upload it, you can just directly pull a report from here and upload the data. But if you want to understand this in detail, you can reach out to support channels. Okay, if we have any more questions, we can take for 5 more minutes. No, so no, notes are not compulsory per se, but if you want to have them as compulsory options, then yes. Then yes. So timesheet is different from attendance here. So if even whether or not the employee has logged in or not, if you have certain people working exclusively under certain projects, there is a possibility to have them assign certain timesheet projects. So automatically, so they're not interlinked per se, but you can still have a visibility. Yeah. Correct. Yeah. Then you can just change the settings, Sonu. So it's not mandatory. So if you have given it as mandatory, only then it is mandatory. So you can just go to project and settings and then check whether it is enabled. See, you can just go to project settings and timesheet, edit settings. Employee should add comments. So if you don't want comments to be added, you can just uncheck that. You won't get that error anymore. All right, then I think I don't think we have any more questions. Where can we update the project status? All right, so project status can be updated from the settings. So if you can go to project, you have these three dots, right? Update, and we have status here. So whether it's cancelled or completed, you can update from here. Wonderful. Can we revoke the approval after rejection of attendance? I think we would need some more information on this. Okay, I'll just stop sharing my screen. I think, yeah, that brings us to the end of the second part of timesheet management. So the recording would be made available soon, and it would be also uploaded on, KKHR's YouTube channel in the playlist. So you can anytime go back and refer. And of course, so support channels are always available if you have any questions. So thank you once again, everybody, for joining us this evening. Stay safe and have a great, great weekend ahead.